think one of the shifts I wanted to make, and I posted this, was I get just a ton of requests to like just walk through the process, and I've gotten a lot of just feedback, and I see the conversations in the group um, with the consortium. We're going to continue to like bring in different people. Like, like I see Christian's on the call, like he's a perfect example of someone I could bring in and show you what he does. Like, just we're going to continue to do that. Like, I don't want to say we're shifting away from that completely, but I also kind of want to build up just this repository in the group where we're talking about just basically some of the fundamentals from beginning to end of setting things up. And so I'm going to start with that today. Really, with thanks, Christian, for the hands. I'm going to start with that today. Like, how do we do this? Because I think so many people are just challenged with actually, where do I even begin? And so I'm not going to go too basic, right? But I want to use like real campaigns and real data. And we've got a couple campaigns that we're running for our businesses. So I'm just going to use those as exemplars so I don't, dox any client campaigns. But I think that'll be, just a good, helpful, for lack of a better way to say it, just exemplar on like, how do you really do all this? Because we get into these narrow focuses of, you know, how do you use Cohere to find this, or how do you use Cohere to find that? But I've kind of neglected like 95% of what really happens in these campaigns. And so um, we'll go with that. So everybody cool with that? That work? All right, we should be seeing instantly, right? So, I also manage campaigns in Smart Lead, so this is definitely not an instant lead versus Smart Lead kind of thing. I'm going to give you my opinion if I haven't given you before, which is I love them both. They both kind of have their unique perspectives on how to do things. And I am an expert and partner with Instantly. I'm not with Smart Lead, but the reason why I like them both is because I post a lot on LinkedIn. I talk about them both, and nobody ever tells me I can't. And so, and V from Smart Lead, I've actually had some good conversations with him about bringing him to talk to the group, just because I love his approach to things in general. So, and Instantly doesn't seem to care. So, but I'm using Instantly because that's where all of my campaigns are, and that's where a lot of my clients' campaigns are. So that's my little bit of disclaimer, but nothing is, as usual, meant to be a product endorsement for anybody. So with that in mind, I would tell you, like, I think part of being um, successful in cold email is really understanding how to do the setup from beginning to end. And so, today, let's let's just say I didn't know anything about cold email. Obviously, I would go, or some way or other I would come about Instantly's webpage. For me, props to them. They got me through a Facebook ad with the AI. Like, the Instantly AI thing is what caught me how to send email with AI, because I'm an AI guy, right? So I got in there, I started poking around and looking at everything related to Instantly, and I was like, this is pretty cool. So I signed up, and I think I got, I don't know, 15 accounts the first time, 5 domains. I spent some time looking through their accelerator. And so I went into their accelerator and I just started clicking through different things, right? I was like, okay, start, what's, niche, offer, setup, right? And so I spent a ton of time here because, if obviously Instantly since made this a little bit easier, but and it's come full circle in the last year. But honestly, setup is probably the easiest thing you can screw up and one of the hardest things to do before Instantly, and now automation and different ways you can do DMARC and SPF and stuff like that. But setup's complicated, and I'm going to tell you, straightforward. I just added a client in the last week or two, and they had an existing Instantly set up, and I'm now doing a lot of my domain and stuff monitoring with Clay and connecting it to APIs and stuff. And I ran a quick technical check on some of their accounts, and they weren't set up correctly. So, you have to, this stuff's important because it's definitely going to affect your deliverability. Um, there are a lot of ways, just like when you're talking about leads, there's a lot of ways to skin this cat, but at the end of the day, I would say what I did and what worked for me, even before I did anything with Clay, before I did anything with AI, and I was just sending emails with Instantly and still booking 200 meetings a month, was follow this setup to the T. So I went out, I bought domains from Google. That was before they converted over to Squarespace. I bought domains directly from Google. I bought only Google accounts at the time. And then I just pulled up these guides and figured out, hey, Instantly says you should do 3 email accounts per domain, right? So I did that. This is how you set up SPF. This is how you set up DMARC. This is how you set up DKIM. This is why, which is another thing I'll emphasize that a lot of people forget, you should do domain forwarding. Let me talk about domain forwarding for a minute. My company, when I first started doing email, was relatively new. It was probably about 2 or 3 months old. I'd obviously done like the Google Analytics and that set up to make sure that I was being indexed. So I was starting to see and start tracking. Got my first organic traffic, stuff like that. When I launched my campaigns, I noticeably saw an increase in just pure direct traffic to my website. And so if you know anything about Google Analytics, direct traffic comes from the fact that people are either clicking on a link or they're putting your URL in the bar. And so if you're not doing this, you've got to forward your subdomains to your main account because people will get an email from you. And because if you're doing what I recommend, not putting links in your first email, they will go and plug your email domain into the URL, and that's how they'll find your website. And so that will generate traffic for you. So 2 points there, make sure you forward your domains. Second point, make sure you have a good website. Or if you're going to put lead magnet or do something, make sure that you have a professional website because you may not be getting calls or your clients may not be getting calls just because your website sucks or because you have no LinkedIn. Because, and this is psychology, so I'll kind of back it up for a second. I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but psychology is like you just sent me a cold email. I know nothing about you. I am going to check you out before I even bother replying to you or giving my time. And so I get hits on my LinkedIn all the time. I get hits. I can see them, the traffic on my domain all the time. If you're using tools like RB2B, you can actually capture who those people are. And if you're running cold email campaigns, you can see that they're the people that are sending emails to you. And even as of today, breaking news, you can even, apparently, I haven't set it up yet, but you can even start tracking website visitors within Instantly. So it's all connected. So I know I kind of went a long tangent there, but it's important to have that social proof, to have that domain forwarding, because that will drive traffic to you. It will. So custom domain tracking, again, this is important. I'm not a huge fan of it because I don't track opens. I didn't know that at the time. So I did all this. I did the custom domain tracking and set all that up. Today, I don't track opens ever for any campaign. Well, partially because I know why you shouldn't track opens. But if you are going to track opens and you want to have custom tracking domain, check the technical setup, which in Instantly you can go into your email accounts here, click this little button, and you can check and make sure that all your domains, which all 180 of mine are, have good MX, SPF, DKM, and DMARC records. And then let me go back here for a second, a little slow, but I know this is rudimentary. It's probably way too rudimentary for you guys, but at the end of the day, you have to go through these steps. Now, this is if you're starting out and if you know nothing. Today, I don't know why Instantly is a little slow. There are a lot of guides in here, and I won't go through all these today. But if you do or do not know anything about cold email, or you know some or you don't know anything, this has evolved. This is, you guys know I am not a marketing guy. I wasn't a marketing guy. I am now. I didn't know anything about cold email to some extent. I learned everything, at least in the very beginning, from this, right? So I know it sounds cheesy to say, I learned what I needed to know from, an accelerator. But what hooked me here, I can't remember where it is. Maybe it's in the sales side. Somewhere in here is this little calculator where it's like if you send 5,000 emails a month, you're going to get, you know, 500 replies. And from that 500, it's like a step by step calculation, basically. And I am a numbers guy, I'm a math guy. And when I went through that, it was like 5,000 emails, 500 replies, you know, certain percentages are going to schedule a call. From there, you're going to close and you plug in your numbers, right? And it's good. That's your ROI, right? So I looked at that. I played with that. I even put it into my own little spreadsheet. I started calculating, and I'm like, I can make this work, right? And I looked at the pricing. I started figuring out how much it was going to cost me to get leads, whether I got them through Apollo. You can get them direct. Excuse me, I got them directly from Instantly. But I just started studying that data, and I'm like, no matter how I spin it, if I'm halfway successful at that, then I can, I can make this work. And so again, I don't want to kill a dead horse, but I thought this was super powerful for me. And if you haven't spent the time in here, you're probably going to learn something. I don't really pay much attention to the copywriting side because I kind of do my own thing. But even now, Instantly's evolved where, you can automatically, drop in copy that they help you create. I mean, we'll talk in a second. You can set up your own domains and emails. So I'm sure all this has been updated, but this is where I learned. And probably the most important part of that was really just the technical side of setting up SPF and DKIM and, just all that side. So I will pause there before I move on. Any questions from anybody? Checking out the chat here just to make sure I don't miss anything. That's awesome, Nick, that you guys are collaborating too. It's great to see. All right, so let's go here. Right. So again, this is like a moving target for Instantly. They keep adding stuff. I'm too busy to always pay attention to it. So the important stuff here is, what plans do you acquire? Why do you acquire certain plans, et cetera, right? So won't spend too much time on this, but obviously you can do monthly, you can do yearly, pricing changes according to that. Really what you need to pay attention to is how many leads you're going to upload, whether you upload them through Lead Finder or whether you, get them from other sources like Clay or Apollo or whatever, because it's priced to the amount of leads that you have in the Instantly. Now, I would tell you get smarter about that and understand before you spend a lot of money. Like, is it just as easy to, if you're only going to have 12,000 leads in there, or let's just say you're going to have 25,000 in one, could you just pull one out or two out, right, and not have to pay more? So just pay attention to that. I mean, that matters. You can also increase your, email sending limits. So this is not proportional, right? So you in the intro plan, which is 97 a month, you get 25,000 contacts, 125,000 emails a month. Proportionally, yeah, that's 5 emails. I don't send 5 emails, right? So I only send 3. So, I get a lot more emails per month than I would actual contacts needed. And then a couple things here, right? There's certain features you'll figure out, like if you're going to do automated sequences, which is that copy creation thing I was telling you about. There's different aspects that come with these plans as you upgrade them. Like Lightspeed, gives you a lot more contacts. If you're sending any kind of volume, you may want to be on Lightspeed, just depending on what you're doing. But this is pretty self-explanatory. Lead Finder, again, here's an example where you can pull in leads. I don't use it for this particular account. I do use it on my primary content marketing media account. And we do use Lead Finder a lot. And Lead Finder, I would tell you the advantages of it. And I've, up until I got into Clay, the only reason I use Lead Finder consistently was because I'm lazy. I just did not want to go out and figure out, which random guy on the Facebook group for Instantly could give me the best leads. And, you've always heard from Apollo that, they're verified leads, but of course, everybody still re-verifies them, so I don't want to deal with verification and all that stuff. So with Instantly, you only pay for the leads you get, right? So I like the convenience of going into a LinkedIn like platform and instantly typing in the types of leads I want and then dumping those into my table, right? So today I still do that, except the difference is I export them out of Instantly and put them in Clay and then do whatever I want. But and I obviously pull leads directly from Clay and other sources. But there is convenience, especially when you're starting out, to not have to worry about verification and basically just going in and adding the types of leads you want. On the other side of that, it's not cheap, right? I mean, it's definitely cheaper to get leads from other sources. So like with anything else in life, if you're using Lead Finder, you're somewhat paying for convenience, and you're paying for only verified leads. So that's the balancing act there. I do use it, but I don't use it for everything. And then the rest of this, I'm not going to really go into because the website visitor thing is brand new today, literally launched a few hours ago. You can do verification instantly as well, where you can just upload a list and they'll do the verification for you. That's a little bit different pricing point, right? And then they've just launched website visitors, which is kind of cool. All right, so pause there. Eduardo, can you? I don't know which part I need to repeat, so if you don't, just tell me. Well, I guess you may not know either because you didn't hear it. So I do. I
Sorry.
think what you're. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it was just about the leads importing. So you said there was 25,000. So does it mean like you said, what's up with that with the credits? So I don't know if it was like importing the same lead twice, what you were referring to. I don't know if you can recall any, but it was you said like what's up, and it was about the 25,000 per month.
Yeah. So what's going to happen is you're going to get, like in this scenario right here, you're going to get 25,000 contacts at any given time within instantly. And so there's two ways you can go about it, right? Like this is, so let's just say I have 25,000 contacts right now. Like here's the number, I have 2,500. But if I had 25,000, I could send each one of those contacts 5 emails before I hit either cap, right? So it's important to realize there is a relationship there per month, right? So if I set up a campaign, had exactly 25,000 contacts, I could send them 5 emails each before I hit either cap. I only send 3 emails to every lead, so I never have to worry about hitting my cap here because it's only 75,000. So just keep that in mind, because if you're not paying attention to this and you're just adding and adding and adding, then you're going to hit this cap. And I've even seen it happen with my Clay tables where I'll add leads to Clayable and I can't figure out why they error it out. I'm like, oh, I exceeded the cap of the amount of contacts I have. Now, what I would tell you guys to do for your current campaigns is run maintenance on this list, right? So instead of just keep spending money, adding more space, this is like adding storage. Just pull out the leads that are done, right? Drag them to a Google file, right? And take them out of the campaign. The only time you need to pay for more than having 25,000 contacts in your list is if you're actually sending more than 25,000 emails at a time. That makes sense? That help clarify? Cool. All
Thank
right.
you.
So yeah, of course. So let's get into the kind of the newest thing from Instantly. And this is you know, how do you acquire emails and domains? So let's see if I can find it here. I think it's billing. It's weird. It's not showing here. Well, somewhere in here. Anybody remember where that's at? I'm trying to find where you purchased the domains. The thing's gotten so big, it's kind of hard to. find here. I thought I was here, but it's not showing up for me. Let me check one of my other accounts here. Hmm. What they say on the news, nothing like live TV. Hmm. Yeah, it looks like they moved something around. So I'm struggling to find where you find it. But long story short, I can skip over this, but in Instantly now, you can acquire. Let me see if it's in before I skip it.
I think it's on the left. If you click on the little email icon, up,
Oh, there you go.
and then add new.
Thank you so much. You could tell I was really struggling there. So the kind of continuing on the story that I started at the beginning, right, is that in my personal opinion, the hardest part about doing cold email is this. Like, most of you guys, I'm sure, have done this, but setting up Google and or Microsoft accounts just sucks. Like doing DMARC and SPF. Now, I will tell you, like, if you're on LinkedIn, you're in some of our groups, like people have already figured out how to do this automatically, right? Obviously, Instantly has built it into their platform. So it's pretty exciting because this makes the process hard. That's what's hard and makes it easy. I would also tell you, like, I don't yet do this. Like, I use another Instantly partner, Demandology and Boxology, to do this for me. And I still go buy the domains for my clients or for myself, and then use them to do the setup. And they're going to do everything that Instantly does in here for you. Partially because they're a little bit more cost effective, but so they're about $3 an account versus $5 an account. But the other thing is, I trust them. They've done good work for me nonstop, and they are a reseller, but they're an approved Google reseller. And I just like to work with people who have done good work. My clients are getting great results, so I just haven't had a reason to switch. But they are still an Instantly partner, so that just shows you what Instantly thinks of them. That even though Instantly is offering this service directly, they still work very closely with Moyne and his team on doing this. But all that is to say, you have multiple options. You could go do this yourself, buy your own Google accounts, buy your own domains. You can, and that's generally US 750 an account. You can go through resellers. I use Boxology, Demandology to do that. Or you can come directly to Instantly. I don't believe, unless they announced it today, that SmartLead has this option yet, but it would not surprise me that it's coming, right? I mean, it's likely they're gonna come. I'll pause there for a second. I don't, Grant. Grant asks, is there any idea when they're gonna bring 365? I don't. And anybody else can chime in, but I would recommend at this moment not buying any Microsoft 365 accounts, because we're just continuing to see them from a wide variety of different people just going down, going into exponential bounce mode for no reason at all. So that might be part of the reason why Instantly hasn't launched it yet, but no update on that, unfortunately, Grant. But I am personally not using any Office accounts because I've just people that I trust that run larger agencies than me are having severe issues with Microsoft. Not all of them, but definitely some of them, Microsoft accounts for clients. So thanks, Doug. Yeah, I've seen a few people that I know as well. I'm running a few campaigns for clients that they've done for you with Instantly, and I haven't seen any issues personally. So it seems to be, it's likely that they're not doing this entirely themselves. They probably have somebody that they're working with, and they're reselling it. I don't know. Even as a partner, I don't have that insight with them, but you know, they, I'm not selling this, but I can tell you just some of the benefits of why I think this makes sense, and I will use it at some point, is because it's easy, right? So I'm going to show you. You can come in, do a done for you setup. You type your domain name, right? So I'm going to do Happy People in Arizona, and then you can pick, you know, whatever domains you want. And so there's the domain cost, which is $15. That's straight across the board. Notice I picked a .com. I always recommend you pick a .com. And then you choose your forwarding domain, right? So remember we talked about that earlier. What domain do you want to forward your emails to? And so I choose that. And then you choose your naming convention and then your email. So let's just say we want to forward it to my main website. And then we're gonna choose my email here. And then what's nice is that if you come here, right, you can see the naming convention, right? And that makes it easy. I could, if I want to take one off, I can. If I want to add one, you know, there's a lot of options here. But once you settle on really what you want to do, you know, you can see your domain names, etc. But really, once you settle on what you want to do from a naming convention, from an email convention, what did I do wrong there? Special characters. Let's see. But once you settle on everything, you just place the order, right? So as they say, it takes 24 to 72 hours to set up the DNS. And then from there, what happens is you start to see the accounts appear, right? So the accounts will appear instantly. However they do that, they set up the SPF, the DKM, the DMARC, they put it and map it to directly to instantly, and they turn on your Warmup. And so for all intents and purposes, you know, within 2 weeks plus, I would say 72 hours, you can be sending emails with warmed up accounts. So I think it's a great service. And you know, it's like anything else, right? It's a little bit more expensive than I said, like the resellers. At least the team that I use at Domanology, they do all the SPF and DMARC, and then they map it directly to my install and everything else. So, you know, there's advantages. You really got to kind of choose, you know, what flavor works for you. I would tell you that I've done the first two where I've set it all up myself. And then now I use Domanology. I'm likely going to use instantly as well, just to try it out and see what works. The one caveat I will plug instantly for is that, and I didn't learn this till recently, once you get into this, if you're not already into this and sending a lot of volume, one of the pain in the asses that come from Google is that they like to make you do two-factor authentication at any random interval, which they seem to think will please them. So, and that's a pain in the ass because your account will disconnect. Instantly handles that for you. So that is one of the nice benefits of using Instantly that I don't know is done through any of the other suggestions that I made so far. So with that, I think we're at the halfway point. So any questions, Doug or Nick? Either one of you want to share like your experiences so far with your done for you? Any feedback or?
Sure, yeah, happy to do so. I set it up just 2 weeks ago. Actually, today is the first day that I could actually start sending. It is super easy. It is obviously a little bit more expensive. I think I haven't looked into any other things, any other processes that are available, like Boxology and things like that, which I've kind of heard pop up in the WhatsApp chat. I'm very lucky my company pays for it, so I'm reimbursed. So if it saved me time, it meant it saved me time, and that was something that was worth being reimbursed for. But again, it is probably a little bit pricier than just going out and buying a domain and getting it set up on your own. But this is my first foray actually into the Google. I've been using Microsoft, the Outlook for all of my sending prior to the recent unpleasantness that is pretty well documented throughout the group, and seeing a lot of 550 replies. And I don't do a ton of sending. I mean, just for reference, I send probably a few hundred emails a day. I only have a few Instantly accounts. But it just made sense if I was going to try to expand and go into the Google route to do so right there with Instantly, and the setup just made it super easy. And I didn't even know about the 2-factor authentication, so that's really that helps a lot there too. But it was super easy. I actually just set up 2 more domains with 3 more inboxes for a coworker of mine, because I do all the admin stuff and get them set up too. But I mean, I can't say enough about how easy it was. It literally took 5 minutes versus like trying to go back and do everything back and forth through GoDaddy and Microsoft and everything like that. So, I mean, it probably saved me at least an hour, if not longer.
Some things just aren't worth the suck, right? That's what it comes down to.
Just to piggy off of Doug, it's super simple. And then clients understand, if you really, do the discovery call and everything, how arduous this can be. So they're willing to spend, the extra, whatever it is, $10 just to get it done. And then, once you get a domain, you can set up, 2 or 3 different email accounts. And that's pretty good, because, I come across, I want to send 10,000 emails a day. Great. Now imagine if you have an offer that people actually want. What are you going to do? And I'm sure this has been said, but what are you going to do with 1,000 replies? You can't cover that. So just really target it down and really niche it down, obviously enriching with clay and everything like that. But once you provide, your client those 5 dream customers or 10 dream customers, they're good. They're off the boat of, let's send 10,000 emails a day. Okay, well, that's $1,000 just setup fee, right? If you really want to play that game, that's great. But that's not going to work.
No, I think you're spot on. And that's part of this, right? And it just reminded me, listening to both of you, is like, I'm glad in the very, very beginning I didn't have a choice but to set it up all myself, because I appreciated how, I like to tell the story, like there was a weekend I remember sitting on the floor in my bedroom for like 11 hours straight, just doing one DMARC SPF record after another. And I think that was when we jumped to like 180 accounts. And I decided that day, like, I was never going to do cold email as a service, because I just did not. I knew like I could have my VA do it and all that, but it was like and I've done data analytics most of my life, and it was just the worst suck I've ever experienced. Like, it was like banging my head against the wall. I just didn't want to do it. And, personal story, like, I didn't launch. I've been doing clay and a lot of consulting, but I didn't launch my own cold email agency until like 6 weeks ago, when I figured out I didn't have to do this anymore, right? Because that was the one thing I never wanted to do. Like, I just didn't want to do it. And like, I drew the line and that piece of sand. And so now that, like, since now that I don't have to do it, like, I've changed my business model because of it. So, and it got me to the point, and I think this is an important point with anything we do with clay or anything else, right? Is that there's arduous ways to do things, and you will often make the decision in the beginning to pay for convenience, right? So like kind of Doug talked about, like, great example of where it makes sense, right? To just do it through Instantly. Now, but from a business perspective, like, let's just say, Doug, you're doing this for 100 clients a month, right? You might then look at it and go, okay, well, why do I want to pay Instantly $5 a month if I can pay a VA to fill out the spreadsheet that Boxology needs, and I pay $3 a month, right? Because that $2 a month times however many accounts then becomes a measurable number, right? So part of every aspect of what we do, it doesn't matter if it's setting up domains or it's running clay, Like we have that discussion a lot in Clay where, yeah, you can go pay Clay credits for everything, or you can figure out if it makes sense for me to pay $350 a month to Clay, then I can probably cut a lot of my costs doing API calls where I would normally have to pay a Clay credit, right? So it's that same argument or same discussion, but just for the benefit of the group, like, and I kind of, that was my lead finder example. Like in the very beginning, I just paid for convenience because I didn't want to have to learn and figure out how to find leads, right? Or I just didn't trust that. I mean, and if you don't believe me, go make a post on the Facebook group of Instantly right now and say, I need this type of lead, and watch how many replies you get. And it will be from 19 different people you've never heard of, or and no way to validate them either, right? So, and I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying there's not good guys that do this. I have a couple guys I go to that I know they know what they're doing, but on the other side of it, like you have to kind of experience the convenience to realize that Instantly is not stupid. There's a reason why they offer this service, and this is probably one of the smartest things I've ever seen them do because they took the complexity out of it, right? If there's anything in cold email that's hard, it's this. Like anybody can write copy. I'm not saying it's going to work, but anybody can, put together a paragraph or two. But this is technical and this is hard, and they just removed it. And this decision is probably going to make them millions of dollars because a lot of people will now just be like, oh, what do you mean? All I got to do is plug in a few columns and choose my happy Peoria, Arizona, or whatever I chose randomly. And now I have a domain, an email account. In 2 weeks, I'm sending, so it's brilliant. Let's see, Nafal, how many inboxes do you set up for your clients? So yeah, it's a great question. So technically speaking, no more than 3 email accounts per domain, right? So I think that's important. For client, I mean, it's definitely client dependent. A lot of it depends on what their TAM is, right? So if they're in I like to look at numbers, right? So, in a nutshell, without getting too long-winded on this answer is, I believe you can recycle leads at the 3-month mark. So I believe if you have let's just say a total addressable market of 10,000 leads, then I can hit those leads every 3 months pretty consistently, because who remembers an email that they didn't reply to 3 months ago? So I feel like you can send the same email to the same person every 3 months with the same or a different offer, and they're likely not going to, some will, but 99.9% of people won't remember because they didn't engage with you, right? So I use that as my barrier and then say, okay, well, I know on a given account, I'm not going to send more than 20, 25 emails a day. And so from there, I just do the math. I need 3 email accounts. I have 1 domain per 3 email accounts. This is the amount I need to send. But I think you need to start at what your total addressable market is, understanding your ICP, and then say, okay, well, what capacity do I need to have to send that amount? My base offering package, I'm not sure which part of the question you're asking, but I'm gonna give you both answers. For most clients, I do 30K sends a month, 10,000 leads. So that's 3 emails per lead. And it takes the setup to match that is, the equivalent amount of email accounts and domains at 3 email accounts per domain. So hopefully that answers that question. All right. Cool. So great discussion so far. Yeah. So that's a great point too, Doug. So I love, and this is kind of exactly what I was talking about, right? So Doug said, I think you can set up domains using make.com. You absolutely can. So the part I guess I did not really kind of go into too much depth is that, and there's a great reference in the chat right now. You can use tools like make.com. I believe, I haven't tried it, but I think you could even do it with Clay if you wanted to. It's just API calls, but you could set up, there's a lot of different people now who are creating automations to be able to do this, right? So if you're curious on how to do it automatically, Doug just shared a link to make.com in a video of Eric doing that. And I just posted maybe a week ago on my LinkedIn on how to connect clay to make.com. So there's just another way of completing the cycle for you. Again, with all this, it's like basics, and then, you know, how automated and technical do you want to make it, which is exciting, right? Because that just makes it faster and easier. So domains are important. I mean, I think, you know, where I want to get to today is stressing that you got to do this portion, right? Like if you go into some of these accounts that I have up here, I mean, these accounts are August 29th of 2023. So these accounts are coming up on a year old, and I'm still sending on. I mean, you're looking at, I don't know why this email sent number is not popping up, but we're still at 100%. I mean, we're doing fine. And part of it is because we're extremely conservative. Like if you get aggressive, you're going to pay the price. I mean, in my personal opinion. But I want to stress, and I know, you know, some of the guys that have been doing this a long time, a lot longer than me, will tell you, I'm just giving you perspective. There are all kinds of agencies out there that, and especially from the cost argument discussion, there's agencies that go out there and they don't do warm up at all, and they send on day one. And if you understand math and you start to figure out what your TAM is, what your offer is, who your client is, what you're selling yourself, etc., I can tell you there's a use case I can make that makes perfect sense, right? At $5 a email account and $15 a domain, if I did it all through instantly, and I started sending the day that they mapped it to instantly, if I'm selling a $5,000 offer to the right TAM, and I close one deal, but I burn 100 accounts in the next week, doesn't mean it doesn't make sense, because I just spent whatever $1,000 and made 5,000. That's, you know, a 500% ROI. I'm giving you conventional wisdom on the right way to do this in the setup account, what makes sense from there, and how you would do that, you know, if you were being conservative and consistent. But I don't want anybody to take this as be all end all, because as I said, there's agencies that don't do warm up. There's agencies that send on day one. There's agencies that send videos in every single email or send links in every single email. So as we kind of go through this over the next few weeks, just remember, like, I'm giving the baseline, but don't be afraid of the extreme, right? Because it's the extreme that sometimes makes 7 figures and not the baseline. So just keep that in mind. So from here, again, I would tell you this part is critical, right? Setting up your email accounts, however you do that through the multiple ways that we've talked about today, it's critical. You've got to have, you know, the setup through DKM, SPF. The next thing I would say is once you get into your instantly accounts, you need to kind of understand conventional, and these, again, my recommendations on how you approach settings and we'll kind of wrap this up today from an email account perspective and from a domain account perspective. So first, from an email account perspective, let's kind of walk through some of these settings. So if you're going to see here, as you can see, I have my first name, last name. I have my signature. Again, this is optional. You can inject your signature directly into the copy, or you can just put it in the copy yourself. Now you can start tagging campaigns, which is cool if you have a lot of different campaigns or email accounts. I have all mine tagged live because I'm only running one campaign. I am doing something a little unique with my stuff right now, which I'll wrap up with at the very end, but I'm only sending 5 a day. So you do not have to be this conservative. But if you were doing what I'm doing, you would be. I'll sorry about the teaser. I'll talk about that at the very end, but I'd say normal is 20 to 25 is what I recommend, which is what I do for most of my clients, 20 to 25. Campaign limit, I like to throw this in here, the minimum wait time. This is only necessary just for reference if you are using an email account in multiple campaigns. And this keeps it from, let's just say you have this email account in 2 campaigns. This keeps it from sending an email out, 1 minute apart, right? In 2 different campaigns. I don't ever use an email in multiple campaigns, but if you did, I think it's a good idea to have some kind of delay. So a lot of these things, just for the benefit of everybody else, this is all about Google and Microsoft, the receivers, algorithmic approaches to picking up on whether you're doing cold email. So when you instill a minimum wait time, you're bringing in some variability to how your email approach is from a data perspective. I don't use custom tracking domains because I don't believe in tracking opens. If you do track opens, I would tell you definitely want to have a custom tracking domain. I'm going to give my 2-minute spill on opens. I can tell you from being involved at a data analytic and IT level that any decent sized corporation in America has phishing tech on the front end of their software. Everybody is afraid of ransomware attacks right now. You've probably all seen the stories in the news about the companies that they hijack their data and then say, give me 50 million, or, I'm putting it all on the internet. They all have front end spoofing technology. At my former employer, I don't know if I've told the story before, but my former employee, 4 times a year, we had to take a test. We get sent emails monthly, and we had a phishing button in Outlook that we had to report them to, and that was a test. And those emails would come randomly, and they were written really, really well. And oftentimes they were meant to look like they were coming from an outside vendor or supervisor or whatever, but they were all phishing tests. That's how serious companies have become. Why is that relevant? Because these phishing softwares like Proofpoint, I think is one of them, they're going to open that email and look for a link. And if there is a link, they're going to cross-reference that link into their robust database to identify whether it's a phishing attack. So I want you to know that, because number one, open rates are just not accurate. And that's the number one reason to not use them, because they're not accurate. The people aren't actually opening your emails to read them. It's tech on the front end of these companies that's opening it to make sure you're not, ensuring a phishing attack. So that's number one. Number two, I don't know the exact technical aspects of this, but I've seen it from multiple places. Anybody that has an iPhone that is connected to any kind of corporate account, which that's done through like VPN and stuff, those emails, from what I understand, what I've seen from multiple different people, that those emails are also opened by the tech that's embedded in the iPhone for the same reason, because it's a corporate iPhone. So those are 2 statistically good reasons why you shouldn't use open rates, because the data is not accurate. The other thing is, and again, I don't work for Google, so I don't know all the technicalities behind this, but I can't imagine that they can't detect with some degree of certainty the fact that we're tracking open rates through the pixel or whatever, technically speaking, is put in the email. And to prove that, instantly wouldn't build a custom tracking domain into their setup if they couldn't, right? So most normal people, even if I'm conversing with a client or someone else, I don't track whether they open my email or not, right? So it's all about the human aspect of behavior to say, it's not normal to track emails open rates, so that's probably another good reason you shouldn't do it. Plus, in my personal opinion, it's not a consistently accurate number. So those are kind of the main couple of reasons why I don't do it. And I guess if there's any final slam dunk to that, it comes down to the fact that it doesn't matter if they open your email if they don't reply, right? So I'm sure there's arguments for, I need to figure out if my subject line's working, I need to figure out if my copy's working, etc. But I just don't do it. And I personally have seen my campaigns improve in the beginning when I turned open rates off. How many inboxes and follow do you distribute per campaign, depending on the leads, I guess? Yeah, I'm very inconsistent about that, to be honest. I've run campaigns where I had a couple hundred inboxes in it, and then I've run campaigns when I do it for clients, it's segmented by the ICP or the, what we're targeting by the niche. So I don't think personally it has any impact other than just organizing, like how organized you stay, how many leads you need per campaign. So, it's personal preference. But like in this account, I'm only running one campaign. And I'm even like generic on how I label them. I'll be like campaign 1, campaign 2. So again, it just depends on personal preference, but I think from a deliverability perspective, I don't think it matters. Yeah, for the rest of the settings here, you definitely want to know what your warm-up tag is. And so here's why that's important, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to filter these emails out of the receiving emails account. If you're an instantly customer, you're probably getting warm-up emails from me. I'm probably getting warm-up emails from you. I see people all the time, I know, when I actually take the time to go and look at the warm-up emails. But this filter tag gives you the ability to tag that in Google or Microsoft so you don't see those in your primary inbox. So that's an important thing to know. Once you warm up for a while, I definitely suggest that you hit this button. And this is just going to maximize your warm up. And then I kind of leave these settings as the way they are. I've never had any issues with, warm up limits, reply rate. I know in Smart Lead, this can be variable, which is kind of cool. I'm waiting for one of these great email platforms, Smart Lead or Instantly, to make my sending amount every day variable. That would be awesome. Like I want to send 19 today, 22 tomorrow, 7 the next day. I think that if somebody invents that, please let me know, because that would be really cool. I think from a Google model, Microsoft model perspective, like I'm going to look a lot more like a human if I'm not sending 20 or 5 or 10, the same number every day. Right now, you can obviously change that. You'd have to go in and do it manually. I don't know that either one of them have set it up where you can do it automatically. But if they do, or if somebody knows how to do that, let me know, because that's a pretty cool concept. Yeah, when I go through clients' accounts, this is the most common thing I see. Again, these are my personal perspectives. Some people say warm up doesn't work at all. So take that for what it's worth. But these are my settings. I like weekdays only as far as sending warm up emails. I like the read emulation aspect of it because it, technically I don't have transparency to exactly how this works, but I think the concept of scrolling through the email makes it look more human-like. This, this button's negligible. I could have it disabled if you're not using a warm-up tracking domain, which I'm not, so it doesn't really matter. I do think these things matter, right? So I don't, they default to like 100. If you haven't ever changed these, I lowered this a little bit. Like, who opens 100% of the emails? I don't think that's logical. So I kind of lowered a little bit to like 80, 81. I do like them to go pull every email out of spam if it hits spam. So I leave that at 100. This is the one I think, and I don't know why I won't scroll down, but I would definitely lower the mark important. Like, who marks 100% of the emails they receive important, right? So I lower that to like 17, 5, 10, because, I'm not that important. So I know that people aren't marking 100% of my emails important. So just some recommendations there. And we only have about 5 minutes. So I just want to take the time. I mentioned that I'm sending 5 emails a day, and you might be wondering like why, because it's probably, I don't think I've even posted about this, but I'm testing out a new sequence where I'm sending video on the first email. So I got permission this morning to be able to just share this tech, and it's not because it's super secret, but it's mainly just because they're a client, and so I didn't want to be posting about a client without getting their permission, but they said I could, so now I'm going to show you. So what we're doing is we're doing a little spin tax. Some of you might actually get this email because some of you follow me on LinkedIn, but I pulled my own LinkedIn followers. I put that into a clay table. I'm doing a little spin tax because it's just generic. But then we are actually embedding a video in the first email and sending a specific landing page in there. So the only person I know that's really tried this at any scale is Vena, which is Oscar. And his software, he's tried it. He kind of backed off of it. I'm running it with a different platform called Reachly, and it's reach.ly. But so far, I'm having a lot of success with it and getting bookings from it. So we'll see how it goes, but I just launched it yesterday. I've gotten a fair amount of bookings off it. Obviously, it's a very targeted lead list, which is my own LinkedIn followers. But we'll see. And I'm going to make a post either today or tomorrow on it just to share a little bit more about the tech. But it's good tech. They just got pre-seed funding. They have some pretty cool features in there, even like dynamically adjusting the VSL or the background of the landing page with customized stuff that you can do from Clay. So again, not a promotion, but I'm testing it. You know, again, it comes back to math. If I can figure out even sending 5 emails on an account today, how to get more conversions versus sending 25, then I'm going to do that, right? So just something to think about. But again, early on, but that's part of this group is just being raw and this is what we're doing. We're going to see if it works, and we're not doing it for all of our accounts, just a few, but that's kind of where we're at. So that's it. So that's a lot for today. Any final questions from anybody?
I don't have a question. Yeah, go
Can I
ahead.
go? Yeah, just is it very quick, nothing specific. I do have noted a couple of stuff like feedback in general for the group and the sessions and stuff. What's the best place to send it to you? Like LinkedIn, share a Google Doc, or a WhatsApp message, a Loom video? What would be your preference?
For me specifically?
Yeah.
Probably LinkedIn's fine. That's probably the easiest way.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and I don't know if the group would be interested in this, but I actually spoke to Felipe from Instantly a couple of weeks ago because he lives in the same city as I do. And Instantly seems he makes like he's very clear about the fact that Smart Lead and Instantly are very close together. But Felipe himself is the director of business development, but he runs most of the development of the platform as well. It seems he's had a cold email agency before as well, quite a successful one. But it seems that they are really on top of the development. Some of the things that they're working on now, which will be coming out pretty soon, which he told me was multi-channel as well, which would make them a pretty big competitor with the Growth Machine and Lemlist, of course. But in terms of Warmup and all those sorts of stuff, they have a lot in the pipeline, which is going to develop very quickly. So in the next 6 months, I think a lot of the features like the RB2B competition feature that they have now with the website visitors is probably just going to get stronger and stronger. So yeah, I don't know. I thought for anyone interested in how Instantly might evolve, that could be a cool insight.
Yeah, and great point, Colin. So I know Felipe well as well. So him and I are been going back and forth a few weeks. We're just trying to find time to bring him on, but he will be coming in the next week or two, hopefully, to talk to the group, and you guys will get to hear all about that. So that's pretty exciting.
Awesome.
Anyone else?
I've got a question, but I don't know if it's be better for another time. Is it right? It's around lead list building. I don't know if you're going to go do that for the next session, but
yeah, I think we're probably going to do one more session on just the fundamentals of sending email. Now we've gotten to the point through setup. The next session Thursday is going to be about actually executing and sending campaigns. And then we're going to move into, okay, now how do we get all those leads, right? Because that's a whole arduous process with 18 different variables to sell. So I'd expect that next week is when that's coming.
sure, I'll wait for that. Cheers, Josh.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate the engagement today. Have a great rest of your week.